now we live in an age which normally we describe as informational age. But also I may say that this is age of synthesis. And that's happened absolutely everywhere, in science, in art, and spirituality and esoteric tradition as well. So it means if we discuss such a question like how to combine different spiritual traditions, and is it really necessary to do so, is it proper to do so, so I can say that in a sense there is no choice. That's the part of our time, our age. And especially if we discuss this from the standpoint of Westerners, then for sure we are in a position when we have to do all that synthesis. Because Westerners, okay, normally are Christian, Jewish, sometimes Muslims, and when we start to learn more about Vedic and Buddhist scriptures, learn meditation, and all that things, so we come across with, okay, Hindu religion, Vedic scriptures, and different branches of Vedic, tradition, and Buddhist tradition, Taoist tradition, and Japanese Buddhism, etc. So it means anyway we are open to all that useful information, and we just learn many things, and I don't see any contradictions. Because contradictions basically happen only in our mind and not in reality. And it means why contradictions, I mean between different spiritual traditions, may happen. And sometimes it's happened because, well, it's sorry to say, but some religious and spiritual gurus and leaders are not so spiritual, and actually some of them are not interested in helping people to discover divinity inside, but interested in manipulation. Because the proper guru is the one who is empty, who is just giving philosophy, giving certain techniques, meditation techniques, or mantra techniques, any tools how to practice, both from the standpoint of intellectual process that we call philosophy, or some meditation, inner sadhana. But at the same time, proper guru must be empty, so there is no any actually worship to the personality of the guru. That's the proper way. But sometimes, and quite often, everywhere, in Oriental countries, in the cultures like India, Thailand, Tibet, and Western world, because now we have, as you know, so many Western gurus. Quite often they wish to possess people, they want to use them, they want to have more disciples and followers, and that's ego trick, and that's financial profit as well. And then of course they start to explain to the disciples basically wonderful things, but very tricky things. Quite often different gurus may say that, okay, if you want to reach enlightenment, you have to concentrate on certain tradition, then good concentration, you just learn this tradition, then step by step you will experience absolute consciousness. But if you will read different books, different visit different seminars, workshops, ashrams, then your concentration will be not good enough, and then you will be not successful spiritually. explanation is wonderful, but is it really so? That's the question, because quite often what is behind this logic is just the way how to explain to the people, to so-called students or disciples or followers, that okay, you have to be part of my game. You don't need, or you don't have right to live your life, because if we, it's a very famous example actually. If we take, Jesus the Christ, it's very easy to worship to icon of Jesus the Christ, but it's very difficult to live life according to his teaching. It's very easy to worship to a statue, to the idol of Buddha, but it's extremely difficult to live life according to the Buddha's philosophy. And that's okay. We may take, Yogananda Paramahamsa, one of the most famous guru for Kriya Yoga, and it's very easy to worship to him, but it's very difficult to learn from him. And when we just read his brilliant autobiography of a yogi, then easily we can come to such a conclusion that, this guy was learning Kriya Yoga from 6 or maybe 7 different gurus. He himself was learning from the different gurus. His first guru was his father, then Swami Kebalananda, Swami Pranavananda, Shri Yukteswar, then Ram Gopal Mazumdar. Even Mahavadar Babaji himself was teaching Yogananda, and also Yogananda visited a very nice person. His name was Mahendranath Gupta, who was a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So we may say that 6, 7, maybe even more teachers. So anyway, from different sources. It's like Yogananda, he taught to his people, you have to concentrate. But how it's possible if he himself was learning from number of sources, And of course, wonderful example is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whom I love so much. And of course, for the Western yogic tradition, his disciple Vivekananda Swami is more famous because of his books and his influence. But Ramakrishna, he was learning different traditions from easily dozen of gurus, and that's a wonderful example as well. And George Gurdjieff, very famous Russian esoteric mystic, he spent years in India, Tibet, Afghanistan, Syria, Egypt, and half of his life he was learning from so many sources. So it means it's natural for our age to be open to any information, any techniques, any approaches.